Welcome to Realty Success Hub, your daily show for everything real estate. We've got some super fun guests today, and I would love to introduce them to you. We have Athena today, who's going to be chatting with us about all things real estate. Athena, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello. And first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute honor, and I just appreciate the opportunity. I am a real estate broker, believe it or not, in Denver, Colorado. I'm a rare Denver native. I was born and raised in Breckenridge, and that's a little ski town. If you're into snow sports, you've probably heard of it, but it's about an hour and a half outside of Denver. And I pretty much grew up on snow. But when I was not skiing, I was on job sites with my family because my dad was a builder and developer. And I honestly thought real estate was the corniest thing you could ever imagine because there were more real estate offices than t-shirt shops in Breckenridge. So I had a really negative connotation of realtors as well as being on cold job sites for most of my childhood. So that's at least the introduction of how I began to be involved in real estate in a very early years of my life.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction. We're so happy to have you today. We've got a bunch of questions for you. And so we'll jump into that in just a minute. We've got Angela from Savvy Cleaner. Angela, could you say hi, introduce yourself right quick?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show today. I'm really excited to be on today's show because everything I can learn from realtors about the real estate transaction helps me be a better cleaner because we know that every single transaction involves some move in, move out cleaning. And that is my expertise. I've been a professional house cleaner for 25 years. I've been teaching house cleaning training companies for the last 32 years. And I run the company called Savvy Cleaner. We are a worldwide company. We're in 37 languages and 37 countries and 191 languages. So I'm super excited to be here with you today and to learn from our realtor friends. And I'll throw that back to you, Erin, because I really appreciate being here. But I'm here to learn from you.
And thank you so much. You always give us such fun insight as well when it comes to the house cleaning world and industry. And we have Regina Brown out of San Antonio, Texas. Regina, could you say hi, introduce yourself?
I would love to. Again, thank you for having me. I love joining your show every chance I get. Regina Brown from San Antonio, Texas. I am a buyer's specialist here in San Antonio. I specialize in the luxury market. So anytime anyone is looking to purchase out here, please give me a call. I'd love to assist you. Thank you for having me.
Sounds wonderful. Well, Athena, I wanted to get started with you.
Wait. Erin, tell us about you.
Yes, of course. Aaron Brown out of San Antonio, Texas. Run the podcast of Realty Success here. It is a daily show, and we try to bring experienced realtors and house cleaners and people in the business from all around the world to talk about everything real estate. And so that all kind of goes hand in hand. And I have written a book, so author, and yeah, love real estate. This is going on my 15th year in the business, and really enjoy every aspect of real estate, but more importantly, our clients. It's why I'm in business. So it's all about our clients, and hopefully this show brings a little insight to our clients across the board. So that is me.
Thank you for giving us a little bit on you. Thank you for having such an amazing resource because as a broker, finding your podcast was one of the best tools that I could possibly have. So thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, Athena, let's jump in. We're so excited to talk to you today. We're so excited to hear about you and not only how you got started, but how things are going in your business, in your world. I know Colorado has a really different market than most of the other markets. And so we'd love to hear just a little bit about what's going on in your market. I know rates are up and interest, interest rates are high, inflation is high. Talk to me a little bit about what's going on in your industry, and then would love to jump into some questions that some of our audience members had for you.
Sounds great. So, yes, I've been a realtor in Denver for a little bit over 9 years now. And as you said, the Denver market is absolutely a little bit different than a lot of the country. We tend to be pretty insulated, I would say, from economic downturns. Now, with that being said, I, like the rest of the country, I think last April was almost like the bell of, hey guys, properties don't fall out of trees. Not everyone could be a real estate agent. You are going to have to hustle, because as interest rates go up, obviously it changes our buyers' qualifications drastically. So this is an opportunity for us to get creative, find out how we can still serve our clients, our buyers and sellers, because people will always need to move. Like I said, Denver's slightly insulated. So we haven't been hit as hard as some areas. However, just yesterday, I heard a stat that we were down about 25% year over year in sold listings compared to last year, which was already bad. So we're struggling as well. But like I said, I think it's an opportunity for experienced agents to get creative, be solutions oriented, and find out how we can serve our clients the best. And there are amazing strategies to do that.
Would definitely love to hear about some of them. When it comes to, I mean, I know you're a broker, you're very active in your industry. When it comes to pricing strategy, what does that look like right now in a more of a little bit of a down market, more of a buyer's market? What does pricing strategy look like right now, and what is average days on the market for where you guys are at?
Oh man, I was just speaking about this yesterday, and I said that pricing properties right now is a bit like getting whiplash every day, because it's so different than how we traditionally have pulled comps. So in previous years, I love to look at, in pricing a property, what an appraiser would look at. So I'm looking at properties that are about a half-mile radius from the subject property, similar size, square footage, age, and I'm able to get a pretty good idea prior to even seeing the property, a range in which I think it's going to list at. Then I do a walkthrough, really understand the details of the property that make it special, why it could be priced higher, or what renovations we might need to do, how we can really get the property in its highest and best condition to make sure we get an amazing buyer for it. But my pricing strategies have completely flipped on their head, and I would love to hear if that's the case for you guys. But I no longer am pulling comps from a 6-month period, because things have been changing so much, and there has been, up and downs, ebbs and flows in terms of buyer activity as interest rates change, and as well as what the price point is. So I'm really looking at the last month to 2 months of comparable sales, pending sales. I'm calling agents to see what their activity was like. I'm doing as much due diligence as I can to make sure that I'm pricing a property accurately in this market, because the risks of overpricing are higher than they've ever been. I think buyers simply have opportunity to be a little bit pickier because listings are sitting longer. I think right now our average days on market for properties under $1 million has picked up. We're at around 14. From about 1 million to 2.5 is dead. I believe that's due to jumbo loans, most likely. We're closer to 60 to 90 days, depending on the neighborhood. And then for whatever reason, our market 3.5 and up is multiple offers, bidding wars, the ultra luxury properties. And in my market, a $5 million property is ultra luxury. I know that's not the case in some cities that have the $40, $50 million homes.
Yeah, wow, that's super interesting. Are you guys seeing properties where you can get as far as like financing options on them? Or are you guys working out different strategies to help people maybe do assumables or
Yeah.
anything like that in your market?
All right,
Or do
so
you not have a lot
stop
of
for
that?
just a second because you just said assumables and all that stuff. If there's an audience like myself that is not in the real estate industry, explain to me what that is.
So sorry. So some loan types, particularly VA loan types,
Mhm.
often can qualify for an assumable loan, which means whatever their interest rate is, let's say it was at 2.7 when they purchased their home 10 years ago. A new buyer could come along and assume that same loan under the same loan pretenses at 2.7%. And
As
so
long as
just
they're VA also.
yeah, as long as they qualify for that. And so, as opposed to paying today's rates of 7%, you can get somebody in on that home. And so it creates a unique opportunity in a niche market to move a house quickly, where otherwise it may not. And so
So
it's
how would
just
you figure out if you qualified for an assumable loan? Is it only available for VAs or is there some other reason that you might be able to qualify?
Do you want me to step in there?
yeah, Athena, would
Yeah,
love to hear from you.
definitely. So I actually did my first assumable transaction ever this year. My business partner works in Colorado Springs, which is a more of a military hub. So we do tend to see, VA loans being passed, being assumable to other VA qualified buyers. So if
Mhm.
you're in the military or a family member and you have access to a VA loan, you can absolutely go through the process as well as, like Aaron said, as long as you qualify. That's kind of an important piece. But and then you assume that interest rate, which is absolutely incredible. Now, there are a very rare few opportunities in which a normal conventional or FHA loan is assumable. It depends on what company or whoever is holding the loan or the note,
Mhm.
basically. So I went through my first assumable with a conventional finance property earlier this year. And I am not going to lie, I don't know that it would have happened had I not had the best clients that were super super on it, an incredible listing agent that I was able to work as a team with to make sure that our clients got to the closing table, because this company, I shall not name names, but they were completely incompetent and I don't think they knew how to even process an assumable loan, even though they offered it. But when you're talking about creative strategies, it has been really fun to it's the first time in my career that I've seen buyers actually have the ability to ask for anything in a property. So we were seeing a lot of asking for a seller concession. So in your initial offer, you may be offering asking price on the property or slightly under or slightly over, just depending on when and where. But there is a opportunity to write in, at least in the Colorado contract. I speak from my Colorado knowledge, to ask the seller for a concession. So the seller is going to be crediting money to the buyer at closing to buy down their interest rate. So there are programs that I always say, let's sit down with your lender and figure out what the best possible strategy is for you. But for instance, a 2-1 buy down is something
Well,
that
well, go back.
I,
What is
I'm
it?
going to explain it. I'm going to explain it. Don't even worry. It's foreign language, I know. So a 2-1 buy down will be basically the opportunity to use that seller concession to buy down their interest rate for 2% or 2 points on the first year and 1 on the second. So
Ah.
say my interest rate is 7 and I'm locked in at 7. I can buy it down to 5. Well, technically the seller's paying for this, which is a key part, because I think a lot of people will be able to refinance hopefully after 2 years, and we don't want to waste the buyer's money. But they can buy down the interest rate 2% for the first year, 1% for the second year, get it to 5 and then 6%, and then hopefully be able to refinance at that point. So it makes a huge difference in affordability for a buyer.
And is there a certain prerequisite or series of requirements that you have to meet in order to do a buy down rate?
So there is a maximum in credit amount that you can ask for, and it usually comes down to how many concessions the lender can work into the loan and still make it work, because it can't be an unlimited cap. It can't be unlimited.
Right.
But no, any buyer has the opportunity to, ask for a concession and work with their lender to use it as they see fit. But I will say that with the caveat of, this is not something that you want to be doing if you're in a more competitive situation. This is something that we were using for properties that are sitting on the market, maybe properties that are overpriced, properties that are even just last summer, properties that were beautiful, but people just weren't comfortable buying. So it gives us opportunities to get our clients' heads wrapped around the fact that there are creative solutions for purchasing. And I think a lot of times they just hear 7.5 interest rate, like, I'm never buying a house ever. Right. And instead it's, hey, let's sit down, let's have a conversation, let's find work with an amazing lending partner and figure out what we need to do to make this a comfortable, affordable, and financially responsible decision for you.
And that brings up another question. When you have a buyer who hasn't bought a house, because like you guys are in the buying and selling of real estate all day, every day, and then you have people that haven't bought or sold a home in 20 years. And then suddenly they come in and they're like, oh, I'm going to try to push my weight around or whatever. And maybe they don't have the ability to do that. How do you walk a customer through that, saying, hey, this is the time that we're in. This is what you're able to do. And here's what I recommend. How do you do that with a client and get them to understand that I do this all day, every day, and you're doing it for the first time in 20 years?
Yeah, absolutely. Should I answer that? Aaron, do you want to answer?
Please, no.
Okay, cool. So I love being able to sit down with buyers and sellers that have bought multiple properties, or this is their first purchase, or like you said, maybe it's been 20 years. And the key to everything in life, but especially real estate, is setting realistic expectations. So of course, first I'm taking them through, and depending on the client, it will be more in depth than others, but I'm taking them through what to expect in a transaction. These are our major points that, you need to be aware of: inspection, title commitment, appraisals, due diligence, etc. But with that, I am bringing in market data on the neighborhoods that they are interested in, or if you're selling your neighborhood, what the average days on market is, if properties are selling at list price, if they're a percentage under list price, if they're a percentage over. And I love using data to bring some hard truths to buyers and sellers, because I think we all have pipe dreams. Of course, as a seller, you want to make the most money you possibly can for your property. But that doesn't always mean you're realistic. So if I can come in with hard numbers and say, look, based on comparable sales in the last 2 months within a quarter mile of your property that are extremely similar, this is the reality of what we can expect in terms of pricing. This is the reality of how long I think it's going to take to sell. Now, of course, all of this comes with the caveat of, I don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately. If you guys know where to get one, let me know. But we don't know what's coming ever. So setting hard truths, realistic expectations. And, my biggest conversation used to be with buyers, the fact that most properties were getting 8 to 20 offers on them within the first day or two. So really sitting down with them and saying, okay, first we're going to start with with getting you comfortable in the market. Let's go to a lifestyle tour of the neighborhoods that you're interested in. Let's get familiar with, a variety of properties in this area so that when you are serious about looking, when it's time, you are ready to jump and be as aggressive as possible, because that is what it's going to take to win. And although this might not be what you want to hear, this includes items such as limiting your inspection to items of health, safety, and sanitary only. So not asking for cosmetic work, potentially bridging the gap between whatever the appraised value comes in at and whatever the purchase price is. When we get in multiple offer situations, it's extremely common that you will get significantly over asking price. So you might be 100,000 over ask. You might be 200,000 over ask. I've seen up to $1 million, which blows my mind. But you have to be able to bridge the gap between the appraised value and what you're agreeing to purchase it for, as long as you're putting that language in the contract.
Are you guys seeing a lot of appraisal waivers?
I was for, I'd say, the third and fourth quarter of last year. I was seeing a lot of appraisal waivers. I've only had one so far this year, surprisingly. But I think it's because Denver has gotten to a place where, like I said, under $1 million properties are getting multiple offers in the first weekend. I wish that we have actually had a lot more cash buyers too, which takes the appraisal off the table. Right. And I always like to interview the lender and, ask them to put it in the system and see if this is something that we can get an appraisal waiver on, because obviously that takes a huge, huge relief off of the seller, knowing that there's not an appraisal we have to worry about, and for the buyer as well. But I'm not seeing a ton of them.
Athena, you've brought up lenders several times, and the working with a great lender. For those people who don't understand the difference between a great lender, a bank, getting financing from anywhere, could you speak on that for just a second? And then I would love to chat with you about staging homes, kind of the market that's going on. I know that's changed a lot as far as staging, house cleaners, etc. So let's talk about lenders for a half sec, and then let's jump in about how to prepare that home for market.
So the third wheel of our transaction, I always say, is the lender. So although it is very tempting to use maybe a large conglomerate of a lender that you're seeing low interest rate, maybe a lower interest rate than what you're seeing elsewhere, what buyers forget is just because they're promising a lower interest rate does not mean they're going to get you to the closing table. In fact, at least in Colorado, one in 4 transactions that are using a loan are not closing. And that is due to mainly to either changing finances for the buyer, which is unfortunate, or an incompetent lender. So I always recommend speaking with your real estate agent and seeing who they recommend. If you'd like to interview a couple, maybe a couple of brokers and a retail lender, find out who you feel is going to be the best fit for you to discuss your private financial information with, and constantly chat with them, because they are going to be talking to you every day. So it's important.
Yeah, I know here in our market, having the right lending team is the difference oftentimes of getting an offer accepted, where the other great agents know that local lender, they know how smooth that transaction is going to be. Just this last week, we got $15,000 roughly off the purchase price of a home just because of the lender. And on the flip side of that, we accepted an offer that was under asking price when we had a full price offer on the table, just due to the lender.
100%.
Big,
wow.
Yeah, the big, decision on this side when we're weighing, are we going to get to the closing table, right?
Highest price does not always mean the best offer. If you see a specific lender on that pre-approval letter and their closing rates and the likelihood of getting to the closing table, that does that will probably get thrown away.
Can you tell me more about that? What would cause somebody to take a lower offer if there was a higher offer on the table?
So, as Erin said, reputation is everything. If you have a lender that is someone that has a great reputation in your market because they have consistently shown that they're able to vet their clients to a level that if they are saying that they can get this buyer approved and to closing, granted, we can't, sometimes jobs are lost and that affects financing. So without those things in mind, there are lenders that, if you see their name on a pre-approval letter, it is like a breath of fresh air because that lender is going to get the buyer to the closing table, and lending is not going to be the item that makes the contract fall apart if it does fall apart.
So it's possible that you could have a higher offer, but it's not guaranteed. So you take the higher offer and then the deal falls through, when with the lower, maybe slightly lower offer with the guaranteed lender, and I say guaranteed tongue in cheek, we know this guy normally pulls through, that you would take the lower one because it's more of a sure bet.
What I would do, depending on the situation, and maybe Erin can speak to this too, but I would counter the offer that was lower and say, look, I've got an offer that's higher than yours, but we want to work with you. I love your lender. I want to make this work. As long as it's a reasonable counter that the buyer is able to make work. And I usually find out what their threshold is by speaking to that lender. I would usually counter and basically leverage the offers that I have. But I would rather work with a lender with a great reputation and incredible closing ratio than I'm not going to name names, but a large corporation that might overpromise and underdeliver.
Very nicely said.
Yeah, just to put that into perspective, here in Texas, oftentimes, especially with banks, they'll promise the world, hey, here, you're going to get this rate and we're going to get it, we're going to close in this amount of time, only to find out that down the road, that rate was not locked in. The clients are paying more. That changes their budget. We have to extend closing out. This department didn't talk to that department. Transaction coordinators or title company has been on hold with the bank for 3 hours, couldn't get a hold of them, tried for 3 days in a row, still don't have the information needed, et cetera. And so it pushes the timelines out. And then often the actual mortgage payment that the buyer was going to end up paying is now different because the rate was not locked in. Now they're at a higher rate, and it can all go sideways.
I think the biggest piece from that is it's relationships. We all love relationship-based business. And if you create great relationships with lenders or inspectors, cleaners, you have your team and you know that you can rely on them because you've built a relationship based on trust, based on accountability, on getting our clients to the closing table, because that is what our team's job is to do. Whereas if you're working with, a bank, for instance, you might be trying to get a hold of your loan officer and speaking to a different person every time you're on the phone. No one knows really what's going on in the file. Like Erin said, they probably haven't locked the interest rate or even thought about it. And it can really be a nightmare that ends up hurting the buyer. So I think that's kind of a hard truth that we also have to set the expectation of. Just because you're being promised the moon right now, that does not mean that it's going to be anywhere near that. So the importance of doing their due diligence in interviewing lenders, just as you would interview a real estate agent or any professional in your life. This is one of the largest purchases or sales that anyone makes. You have to make sure that your team is, I guess, on point.
Well, how do you guarantee that your team is on point?
Nothing's guaranteed, but through experience and through repetition and being able to know who you can rely on and who is communicative, who is going to be a great fit for your client, who might have the, if we need an interesting type of loan because they're not a W-2 employee, who the best fit is based on what the buyer's needs are. And of course, we can't control, if the apocalypse happens and the lender can't close it. But, based on experience, and I think you can get a pretty good idea of if they're going to get to the closing table without apocalypses.
So we've got a great agent in place. We've got a great lender in place. You've done the comps on the property. You're getting ready to list that house. You're trying to set realistic expectations with that seller. And here comes staging and cleaning and, et cetera. Talk to us about that. What's going on in your market? What is the expectations you set? How do you find those people? Talk to us about the process.
Absolutely. So again, this will vary a little bit property to property, but I am such a proponent of you cannot skimp on the details. And I say that even in a fast-paced market. So I think it's more important than ever now to make sure that you're presenting your property in its highest and best light. So the first thing I'll do is walk around, with the client, see if there's anything that they notice in the home that needs to be repaired potentially. If we need to do a paint job, for instance, what are the things that we need to get out of the way before we can even think about staging or doing the deep clean? I think that this is a hard conversation with sellers because they're spending more money. But if you show them, look, spending $5,000 on paint and $5,000 on staging and cleaning and whatever other items we might be looking at, the return on your investment is going to be 2, 3, 4x what you're putting in. So not skimping on these details is critical to you getting the most amount of money for your home. So after going through the property, looking to see if we need to do any repairs, any renovations, painting, I then my team does stage properties, but we generally do light staging in properties that already have some furnishings in them, or if we need to get rid of them, then we generally, if we've got a vacant home, we'll bring in a staging team of professionals. Again, I think teamwork is the key here. It is professionals that we've built relationships with for years, and we know that we can count on their quality, their reliability to actually show up and get the work done so that everything goes. Because when you're listing a property, there's a tight timeline generally. It's like, okay, paint, stage, clean. I generally offer my clients a deep clean, especially if the house really needs it. And I know that maybe they would hire someone that wouldn't have done the best job. I want to make sure that their home is sparkling clean and looking perfect. This is a detail you do not want to miss. And I promise you will hear the feedback if you do. If your property is not in great condition, or at least cleaned, it doesn't necessarily have to be in perfect condition if you're not able to do that. But there, of course, are always things we can do to make properties look their best. But cleaning is one of the most important things. And I think you need to do that before photos and listing. And then again, right before the property closes, because it's always a horrible feeling when you're walking in with your buyer to do a final walkthrough on the home, and you can tell that zero cleaning has taken place. And it leaves a little bit of kind of like, well, that's a bummer.
The fridge got moved out, that dresser, there's still stuff on the floor, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I found a dead mouse in a mouse trap in the corner the other day. Like, just the things that you don't want to see when you're about to spend $500,000 on a home.
So talk to me about the relationship between keeping the house clean as the realtor versus the owner. We run into this a lot here in our area where the owners are going, well, it's your job. You're the realtor. You should keep my house clean while I'm listing it, right? Where do you find that balance? And then I'd love to hear from an actual cleaning perspective. I know you said the difference was in the details. And so I'd kind of like to hear what some of those details to you are as a realtor, and then from an actual cleaning perspective, what those details are that we would never think about, right?
Absolutely.
So help me understand, in your market, you've got the sellers. How do they expect you to keep that house clean? What is that expectation there? And what is a realistic expectation?
Again, this will vary client to client. And I think that when you're sitting down with a seller or buyer for that matter, not only are you being interviewed, but you need to interview your client as well to see if they're going to be a good fit for you. So oftentimes with more luxury properties, maybe sellers that are out of state, I do get a lot of, well, you need to make sure that the house looks perfect and before every showing, and depending on the time of year and how many showings there are. And I have no problem, stopping by every day or like every other day or maybe once a week, depending on not that much accumulation happens when someone's not living in the home.
It's the cockroach and the dead mouse that can upset the client or tip the apple cart, right?
Exactly. So just making sure that, and in a few days there haven't been, we've had uncharacteristically wet summers. So Colorado is not usually a rainy state. The last 6 weeks, it's rained every day. So water has been an issue. So it makes it more important where if I'm, selling a property that's not occupied, making sure that no flooding occurred over the last day or two. It gets a little bit more interesting, I would say, when the property is occupied either by tenants or by the seller. When I like to let my seller know that if they were looking to buy a property and they walked into a home that was kind of a disaster, how would they feel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, what I'm going to do is bring in an incredible stager or maybe just someone that will give them a consultation on, how we can make the curb appeal the best it can possibly be, how we can depersonalize the home as much as possible, how we can almost turn it into a blank slate in which the buyer can envision what their life is going to look like in the property, not what the family that's living there now's life looks like in the property because you're seeing so many photos. So sometimes that takes bringing in a consultant because they don't always want to hear it from me, or maybe they take it more seriously if they hear it from a couple of people. But then I say, we're going to make sure that your property is clean. It's going to look incredible. Now, what I need you to help me with is ensuring that we are keeping this caliber of how great your home looks at that level so that every buyer that walks in the door gets that wow experience that we want. Because the more that we can wow a buyer off the bat, the more likely your property is to sell in a fewer amount of days, which means you're not going to have to keep living like you can't touch anything and, almost in fear of messing up whatever staging we have done. But with that being said, I always, we're all human. I always let them know that my team and myself are here for backup. If you left the house in the morning and weren't able to get it spotless before you went to work and you could use a hand because a showing just got scheduled, are we going to run over there? Absolutely. We want to make sure that we're getting everyone in the door and that the property's presenting properly. So that is something that can be a hard conversation, but the hardest is when there's tenants involved. Tenants usually don't want to move out of the house. So why do they want to keep the house looking at its best? Unless unless they're just wonderful, which happens, but often,
Rarely, right?
very rarely. It's almost like let's purposely make it look like a bomb went off in here in order to slow down the sale. So usually
How many hours do you typically give as a warning for your clients, especially those owner-occupied homes, maybe kids, pets? What's typical?
2 hours is pretty standard.
Right.
I do have clients that will say, look, I think with how many people have begun working from home, it has changed the landscape of what showings look like. So depending on, the seller's situation, they might not be able to get out of the house during the day. So scheduling showings from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Now, do I like to do that? No. Our goal is to accommodate buyers when they need to get into the property. I oftentimes will rent an Airbnb for tenants for a weekend and say, look, I'm going to list the house Thursday night, start showings Friday, and after work on Friday, as early as you can get out, I'm going to be there to make sure that the house looks good and is ready for showings. You're going to go enjoy an Airbnb for the weekend. I'm going to get
open house weekend, huh?
Exactly. Like hold big open houses, maybe do like a Sunday mimosa party.
I love that.
Really utilize the first weekend to get the most number of eyes on that listing and get the most amount of people through the door without tenants being there. Now, if we don't get an offer that weekend, then we have to make a strategy with the tenant on how we're going to work together in order to make the property sell. And it takes a lot more babysitting.
Yes. So I know we deal with a lot of owner-occupied homes, and especially with animals. So maybe we could talk about what those details, as far as smells and things like that. And then I'd love to hear from our savvy cleaner over here on how she would run in, what kind of some of those major things are that she might do, and what she could recommend other people do when they only have a 2-hour notice. And you've got cats in the house, you have 3 dogs, you've got 2 or 3 little kids. Like, what are we talking about? Toys, beds, I mean, what?
Yeah. So I think that part of the consultation process in getting the property ready for sale should always involve organizational tips for if I have to get out of the house quickly, what are the bins that I can throw things in and maybe hide them under the bed? Or do I have cute baskets in my closet that I can throw things in, put it on the shelf, and no one would ever know that there was a disaster behind it? Am I making little habits such as wiping up the counters in the morning and at night and making sure that I'm just taking the time to do, be very precise in if I make a mess right now, I'm going to clean it up. If my kid makes a mess, I'm going to clean it up. But having strategies and go-tos that make it easy for your client to just throw things where they need to go, wipe down and get out of there. And oftentimes with pets, this varies drastically. So you could walk into a property for a listing presentation and the first thing that you smell is cat urine, or the first thing you notice is the dog barking at you, sounding terrifying. Now, these are things that need to be addressed because they're going to potentially scare people off. So do we need to have carpet cleaning done? Do we need to have it done twice? Do we need to, make accommodations for your pets if they're not necessarily friendly? Can we either have a dog walker come by during the time showings are, or maybe going to pet daycare? Is there a crate that your dog is comfortable in for a short period of time that we can put and make leave a warning that there is a dog in the premises, but that he's crated and put blankets over the crate so he doesn't get scared of people being in his home or his or her home.
So smart. So smart.
And,
I was in a listing the other day. They had a Rottweiler in a giant cage, and it was barking so loud that my clients were so uncomfortable. They didn't even want to see the home. And then the sellers are sitting in the driveway in their car with the AC on. It's 103 degrees outside. So clearly, where are they going to put the dog, Needless to say, that showing lasted about 30 seconds. We hardly made it through the living room before we were out of there.
Yeah. It makes a huge difference. And especially with allergies too, and I'm really interested to hear, what your strategies are for pet odors, for dander, because I don't have a huge cat allergy, but I will absolutely walk into a property, and if there's a lot of cats, my eyes are going to be watering, and it probably is not going to feel great. But
Angela, help us understand that real quickly from a perspective of cleaning perspective. What do we do?
What do we do? Help.
What do we do?
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you so much for doing that. Just to play fair with everybody, I did write a book called The Ultimate Guide to Move In, Move Out Cleaning. And this is for the homeowner, and it covers all these exact same scenarios.
I that.
The reason we bring it up is this. As a cleaner, when I come to a home and the the seller is thinking about selling their home and they're going to put it on the market, they are, in most cases, house blind. And so there's been furniture in certain places. And if we move that to add staging, what happens then is there's a sofa that has been moved and the wall is there. And maybe there's stuff that has either it flipped up when somebody was eating something and it hit the back of the wall and we didn't see it because there was a sofa there, or the baseboards haven't been cleaned, or it's possible that maybe somebody walking through the room kicked one of the baseboards with their foot and there's a black scuff mark. We don't see it because we live in the house. So we are house blind. But when a buyer comes in, the first thing that they're seeing is is that spaghetti on the back of the wall in the living room? Like, what the heck? Where did that come from?
How'd you throw spaghetti on the wall?
Yeah. And then they see scuff marks that are on the baseboards. And they're like, are people been kicking up the walls here? What's going on? And especially if there are pets like dogs and they scratch and they claw the furniture or they claw the walls, there will be like the back of the doors and the dog wants to get out and he scratches and claws the doors. There are a lot of people that are housebound and they don't see that. So my job when I come in is to erase as much of that as possible before we get to the painting and all that stuff. Because sometimes people are going to show the home and it hasn't had a chance to be painted yet. And we saw this a lot last year where people on the spur of the moment would decide to sell their home and the next day it was sold. I mean, like, boom. And so there was no time to bring stagers in and to repaint and all these things. But as a homeowner, there are things you can do. And what we encourage you to do is walk out of your house through the front door. You live here, so you usually come in through the garage. But I want you to walk in through the front door with new eyes. Look at your house like this is the first time you have ever seen this house. And what do you see? Because if you're looking for the first time with new eyes, you're going to go, oh my goodness. We do have a scratched up floor. We do have scratched up walls, or the sun has been beating on this part of the hardwood for a long period of time, and it's really lightened the flooring where it doesn't match the rest of the flooring, right? What can you do? Well, you can put a rug over that area and try to maybe blend the rest of the flooring in, right? Try to minimize what's going on there so that when a person that's never seen your home sees it, the first thing they're not doing is asking a bunch of weird questions that nobody's asking. Right? Try to minimize that. So by cleaning, we come in and we clean everything from top to bottom, and it's going to be all of the baseboards. It's going to be all of the window sills. It's going to be all of the door jams where people can brush through with their arm, or they're carrying the laundry basket down the stairs and they bang the side of the wall. We want to clean all of those areas. And something as simple as a magic eraser can erase a lot of those black marks. Even on hardwood floor, you want to get your magic eraser wet and you can just go over the scuff mark on the floor. Don't grind it in, because a magic eraser is in fact fine sandpaper. But when it's wet, it will wipe up those black marks. Yeah. And so it's amazing the things you can clean up if you're looking at the home with new eyes.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to draw the attention to the fact that house cleaners are predominantly not window cleaners. Okay, they are not, because the insurance is different for a house cleaner that moves a vacuum rather than somebody on a 2-story ladder that's, maneuvering big poles or extension wands, or they've got a big truck mount of water that they're spraying on the house or whatever. The house cleaners are not equipped for that. So the insurance is different. And we don't want a house cleaner not trained to do windows. So I would break that up as a realtor and say we need a house cleaner and a window washer, and I would break them up.
So good, such good advice, and honestly something that I think of exterior window cleanings as separate, but interior I've never even processed that, embarrassingly, so thank you.
Well, and
What
often
happens-
homeowners think they can go spray the window with a hose and it's clean,
Or the flip side of that is they think they're going to grab a can of Windex or a jar of Windex and they're going to hurry and wipe it down with a paper towel and we're good to go. But the reality is even a paper towel is better than nothing, because here's what we have. A homeowner walks through their house and they don't see there's film, there's rain, there's dust, there's a whole bunch of debris that over the last year has accumulated on their windows. But when they clean that, oh my goodness, when a window is clean, everything looks cleaner. And so a seller coming into a house that they have lived in forever and they're house blind is going to not respond as well as a seller that is motivated, that has cleaned the windows. Okay. And so a seller with clean windows, a buyer is going to walk in and go, wow, this house is sparkling. They don't say sparkling to dusty, dirty windows, right? But if you have every window is really clean, it makes everything look really clean, right?
It's crucial. It makes
so,
such a big difference.
Yeah. And you asked about the pets. The pets are a really big issue because I myself have pet allergies. And I have chemical sensitivity allergies because I've been around chemicals for cleaning for so long.
I have autoimmune diseases, and like Fabuloso will kill me.
Right. But
Sorry.
So what we recommend though is be as neutral as possible, because clean does not have a smell. It does not smell like Fabuloso. It does not have a smell at all. Fabuloso smells like Fabuloso, right? But then you ask the question, what about pets? Okay, so here's what pets. There's a product called Odoban Bio Stain and Odor Remover. It comes in a gallon concentrate. It's very inexpensive. And one of the things that we recommend, and I would recommend this to realtors, if you have a house with pets and they've got lots of pets, 3 dogs, 4 dogs, 5 dogs, I would recommend as a gift, hello, thank you for signing your contract with me. Here is a gift of a gallon of Odoban Bio Stain and Odor Remover. Here's how it works. Just like Fabuloso or Febreze. The difference is this. It has enzymes in it. So when you spray that sofa, it's going to odor eat all of the odor. So you talked about you're going to send somebody into the house that is going to see the house, and maybe they do have chemical allergies or they have pet allergies. What's going to happen is that odor enzyme is going to eat the smell of the odors that are in the house. There's a whole entire product line that I will leave links in the notes to.
That'd be great
at the moment, but there's a whole product line.
I'm like, this is a thing. Yes.
Yeah. There's a whole product line that is called AllerSearch. It's from AllerSearch. And what it is a whole product line of pet dander sensitive products. So let's say, for example, you're going to put your home on the market and you've had 4 dogs in your house and 2 cats. What you do is literally there's a powder, you sprinkle it on your carpet, you leave it for 90 minutes. Then you go back and you vacuum it up, and you can't see it, you can't smell it. And what it does, it literally dissolves and it eats the pet dander in your house. Now, I hate to say this, and I hope none of my employees are watching this, but in my office, we have employees that have showed up to work every day, and just the pet dander that's on their clothing. If I walk in the room, my eyes will water, my nose will clog up, and my eyes will start itching. And I can literally say, I just walked in, somebody in this room has pet dander on their clothing, right? And so if that's in the home and a person is joining the home just to take a look around, they're going to feel so horrible when they leave and they're not going to know why.
Yep.
But just by vacuuming the rugs with this, it will remove that out of the air. And the spray that you spray, and it's literally, you can spray it on stuff and it will dissolve. And I say, spray it on stuff, spray it on your sofa, spray it on your carpet, spray it on your, and I don't mean a full blown spray, but like if there's a dog bed, there's a dog room, spray it in that room, just like you would like Lysol. it will eat it out of the air and it removes the odor.
This leaves no residue on the furniture.
No, and it's clear so that there are no dyes, there's no extra smell. It doesn't smell like anything, but it works wonders. And so when we are in a home and there's been, I don't know, dog pee or whatever, because there are lingering smells when a dog has peed in the house, you can spray those spots on the carpet and boom, it eats it up.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a phenomenal product. And we use it a lot because when we leave a customer's home, if a customer comes in or if their neighbor comes in or a relative friend comes in and the house smells like urine, they're going to say, wow, your house looks clean, but boy, does it smell. We don't want that. We want somebody to walk in and go, wow, it feels new again, right? How does it feel new again? Because we erased the things that you are house blind or smell blind to. And that's a really, really key issue when it comes to selling your home.
So prior to listing, we get a professional cleaning done. A lot of us realtors, we ask for that final initial cleaning. We don't know what to call it, but a deep cleaning. It gets really pricey. As a cleaner, what's the difference? How can you help us and help our clients understand that they really need both of those cleanings and maybe what the difference would be? Because one, there's going to be no furniture. We still need it deep, right? Because we want it to look beautiful. But as you know, it can get pricey hiring a cleaner to come in multiple times through the process of selling.
So I love the question, and there's no good way to answer it because a cleaning company, just like a window cleaning company or a realtor or whatever, everybody works for a living. And so they're going to, if they have a 15-hour clean, they need to be remunerated for that. They need to get paid. And so one of the things I recommend, and I'm not trying to just tout my own self, but there's a book, The Ultimate Moving Guide, Move In, Move Out Cleaning Guide, and it's for homeowners. And what it does is it walks you through, oh, you're thinking about selling your home. Check it out. These are the first steps to take, and there are checklists inside. And then you go through the book and it says, okay, now you're getting ready to stage your home. These are the things to do now. And it walks you through a progression of different types of cleans to do as you're selling your home.
You're
now,
my hero.
there's nothing in the house now, and you're ready to, here are the things you need to look at. And there are checklists. We have all the personal protective equipment you need, all of the cleaning supplies that you need, and it's all inside here. And the book will cost you about $10 or something. It's very affordable. But
I'll take 100.
It is one of the best.
Every client moving forward. That is going to be part of my listing packet. From
100%.
Here's the thing. If you don't pay for the cleaning, but you give them a copy of the book, what's going to happen is this. It's going to prep them on, oh, wait a second, I didn't know I was supposed to do this. And it's going to make your job a lot easier because as you go to stage the house, as you go to have them move out, every step along the way, they're going to know how to, oh, I need a to-go bag for my dog. And you need to have just a backpack with your stuff in it and a backpack with the dog stuff in it. Dogs and cats mostly have little crates that they travel with, like if they're going on an airplane or something, have that ready to go. And if you get that call that says, hey, we're coming over right now, you better spray the house really quickly, grab your to-go bag, put your animal inside that crate, put the crate in the car, and goodbye. You're gone. And when
empty the litter box on your way out.
Yeah. And when
spray that magical spray you mentioned.
Take your litter box and take it out on the back porch and put it behind your barbecue grill. Most people see the barbecue grill, they get excited, they think patio parties, and they don't see the litter box behind your barbecue grill. After the people leave and you come back, make sure you bring it back in the house because your dog will then pee on the floor if there's no litter box or whatever.
Oh, cat. Good reminder. Maybe set an alarm for that one, right?
Yeah, but that's it. There's a series of cleanings you have to do because you're right. It gets really, really expensive. And here's what I don't want people
ROI though. You're going to get that money back.
Cleaning is key because when someone comes into a house, and I think Athena mentioned it earlier on, when you go to a hotel, and you're walking into the hotel for the first time, what you're seeing is nothing except the absolute necessities. Mm-hmm. It's clean, it's bright, it smells good, and it's empty. And that's what you want.
Yeah.
You want when a homeowner comes into their new home for the first time, they're looking at it like, hey, is this my new home? You want them to come in and go, yes, I want to live here. Mm-hmm. And we want to remove all the questions no one's asking. And that's all the questions about the pets, the dirts, the scuff, all the stuff that is kind of left behind that you're smell blind and house blind to.
And I think it's so important to remind our clients that they're not the only ones dealing with this. Like, we are not attacking how they live their life. We are not, in any way disparaging the living situation. We all, like, I have 2 dogs. One of them likes to pee every once in a while. I deal with this. I need help with, cleanings because I do real estate 900 hours a day. So like reminding them that we're all like, this is a normal part of being human, and we want to just take any doubt, like you said, out of the equation so that the buyer can have the best experience. And then once they buy it, they can make their own smells and stuff. But let's take away yours in the meantime.
One of the things that you can do as you prep the client on day one, when you sit down and you have an appointment with them, say everyone's house is pretty clean and give them the benefit of the doubt. We assume your house is pretty clean. But one of the things that we discover is as people start moving furniture and there might be stuff under the fridge or hiding in the back of a cabinet or something, people go, oh yeah, I think I have that. We don't want to embarrass them. But if you give them a copy of the book, and if you don't, at least please make some checklists for them, give them some guidance on how to keep their home clean. And say to them, I wish I could pay for several cleanings of your home, and we can't do that because we're realtors. But one of the things I can do is I can recommend this book to you and recommend that they buy it. And if they buy the copy of the book, what happens then is that will save them thousands of dollars in multiple cleanings. And say, I'm going to save you as much money as I can. I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention this to you. And the reason I say this, and we made this for this very exact reason, we made this for realtors to help their homeowners so they can save a lot of money, because it gets, like you said, really pricey when either the homeowner is trying to save money and they're trying to get the most for their property. Oh, and now I got to pay for a cleaning, right? And they're trying to cut corners at every turn. I don't mind if you cut corners.
Having to pay for the cleaning
times. I don't mind if you cut corners, but don't cut steps. Don't cut steps, and this will save you a ton of money. So let them know right up front. Just prep them for it.
You are good.
You know what? I think I'm going to take the money I would have spent on the next house cleaning and buy that amount of books.
I'm with you, Aaron.
That's going to all of my listings from here on out.
Done. Like,
yeah,
happening.
Right?
I think there's no greater gift than that, honestly.
And I'm guessing in your book, you've got resources for these types of cleaning supplies and on, like you were talking about.
What we did is we have a list of resources at the end of every chapter, because there's a checklist of all the things that you're going to need. And then we've actually set up an Amazon store. So if you go to the Amazon, it's in aisles. And so if you go down, it will show you exactly what we talked about in the book. And then as those products become unavailable, then we can update those product pages, because you might have a copy of a book that's a year old, for example, and I don't want to send you to outdated resources. So we linked it directly to an Amazon store so that we could continually update the aisles of that store for the exact things that you need that are available as the market changes. I know during the pandemic, some of the things that we normally use were unavailable for a little bit of time. You go in the stores and all the shelves were empty. Yeah, so we had to make some changes, but yeah, this is current and it's updated. So there you go.
What's the best place that we can order your book?
It's on Amazon. Yeah, that's the easiest place.
Easy.
It's called The Ultimate Guide to Move In, Move Out Cleaning.
Done.
Thank you.
Too easy. Well, I had so much fun today, and I want to respect you guys' time. We're at the top of the hour. In closing, could you guys share with us kind of where we can find more about you, if you have any additional resources available, and also where, we as realtors, we like to refer, and if we got people moving up there, people moving down, would love to be that referral resource. So, Angela, maybe you could tell us about you really quick, and then would love to jump over to you, Athena.
Yes, thank you so much. I am Angela Brown. I'm at Ask Angela Brown on all of the social medias. You can find me there. I also run a podcast called Ask a House Cleaner. So you can also find me on YouTube or Apple, iTunes, Google, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever they play podcasts. So thank you. Delighted to be here on your show today.
Thank you so much, and so insightful, so fun. We're definitely getting that book for our clients moving forward.
Thank you.
Athena, tell us about you and where we can find you.
I would like to first point out that we're the A team right now. Athena, Aaron, and Angela. But yes, Athena Brownson, as I mentioned, I'm in Denver, Colorado. So if anyone would like to learn anything about this beautiful city, if you're interested in dabbling in buying or selling, investing, developing, I am your girl. And you can find me. I am going to give you my Instagram because it is the hub for finding my phone number, my email, my website, which has amazing resources on it, as well as my link tree, which has some great videos learning to help you learn about real estate. And that is, you're probably seeing my Instagram handle, but it is Athena Brownson Realtor. Should I spell that? Or are we good?
It's on
Yeah,
our
go ahead.
screen.
Okay, cool. So, and I would love to connect in any way that I can possibly help. I'm here. I'm pretty friendly.
Thank you so much. That was so
Thank you.
insightful, you two. You can find me at Realty Success Hub, and of course at Ask Aaron Brown, pretty much on any social media. So again, thank you so much. We really appreciated you guys. So insightful, so much fun, and we look forward to hopefully having both of you back at some time soon in the future.
I would love
Thank you
that.
so much.
Thank you
I
for having
appreciate
us.
that.
Yeah, we
Thanks,
really
you guys.